Hey guys, welcome back to Dapper Dan Games. This is Dapper Dan, and welcome back to the second day of Magic the Gathering week. So, if you saw my last video, or at least my last Magic related video, you saw that I opened a fat pack of Magic the Gathering Return Ravnica. Now, if you're unfamiliar with the game, you might have been watching that and been wondering, these are all pretty pictures and everything, but they don't mean anything to me. So, what do? And that's what I'm here for today. I'm going to explain to you real quickly, bare bones of how to play Magic the Gathering. Alright, so to start out, I want to talk about what you need to play. Really, all you need to play is a deck, 60 cards or more, and a way to keep track of life. I like to use this. Your life total is 20 at the beginning of the game. And this has 20 sides, so it's a perfect way to use it. And it's actually designed to use to keep track of life. It goes 18, 17, 16, 15, so it's pretty nice. Now, depending on your deck, you might need things like tokens and counters and stuff like that. So if you do, you can use like dice, you can use little beads, you can use whatever you want for that. But if you don't have those in your deck, then don't worry about them. So, for the purpose of this, I'm just going to not worry about them. So really all you need is this, life counter, and your deck. Now, to start out the game is very simple. What you do, and just put it like that, is you shuffle your deck, just pretend it's shuffled, and then your opponent shuffles their deck, and then you draw 7 cards. Again, like I said in my Pokemon video, you don't show these to your opponent. These are private information, but for the purpose of this video, I am letting you all see what's up. Alright, so you draw 7 cards, and determine who goes first through rock, paper, scissors, coin flip, epic dance battle, whatever. Once you decide, if you go first, you don't get to draw a card on your first turn, but the advantage is you get to move first. So, alright, and that's really all you need to do to set up. Now, the way the game goes is on your turn, you have a few choices. You can play a land. These are land cards. What these do is you can tap them. Tapping them is this action right here. Bam. Doing that, if you tap them, they give you mana. Mana is what is used to play cards, play really anything in this game other than lands. Now this kind of causes some confusion to people, how mana actually works. They think land is mana, mana is land. That's not quite the case. Certain non-land things create mana, so they're not synonymous. Basically think of it this way. If you tap this land, this plains right here, it will give you 1 white mana, and you just imagine that's in a imaginary pool of mana. This pool drains at the end of every kind of phase, but just imagine them in this imaginary kind of reservoir. So, let's say on this turn we play this 1 land. You can play it wherever you want. You can play it up there, you can play it up here, you can play it up here, you can play it up here. Can't play it up here, but you can play it wherever you want. I like to play it kind of somewhere around here. And let's say we tap it for 1 mana. Now with that 1 mana, we're allowed to play any of these cards that cost 1 mana. 1 white mana. So this gives you white. You can tell because that's the symbol of white mana in this game. So you can look at this card right here, Champion of the Parish. In its corner, it has a white mana symbol. What that means is that because I've tapped that to add 1 white mana to my mana pool, I can play this on the field. And then, so on your turn, you can play whatever you want that you have the mana for. And another thing to note, once you tap something, it doesn't untap until your next turn. So at the beginning of your next turn, it untaps like that, and you can draw another card. It's just 1 time, so it's 1 use per turn, really. So you play your card, and then really that's whatever you play on your turn. You can play as many cards as you want. You can play as few cards as you want. After you play cards, you can attack with any creatures you didn't play this turn. So like Champion of the Parish, I wouldn't be able to attack with this turn since I played it. But next turn, I'd be able to attack with it. I'll get into that in my next little phase, but we'll get into that a little later. So that's really all you need to know about that, at least how a turn goes. Now, the game gets a little more complicated when you take into account the different card types. The different card types in this game are creatures, sorceries, enchantments, basic lands, planeswalkers, and instants. I'm actually not going to really discuss planeswalkers in this video. I'll do that in a later video because it's kind of complicated and they're pretty rare in this game, especially when you're just starting out. So you don't really need to know exactly how they work right off the bat. Now, what you do need to know is, okay, so let's start out with creatures. Creatures are basically your combat, your infantry. They're how you attack, they're how you defend yourself. That's how they're important that way. The difference between them and every other card is you play them on the field, they stay on the field, and they can attack and they can block. I'll go into combat in a later, the next part, but you'll see how that is relevant. Next card you need to know, card type, is lands. Now, lands, as I explained, are really the main way you provide mana for yourself. You can play them every turn for free, and what I mean by that is they are free to play, and you can play one every turn. It's not like you play one for free a turn, and then you can pay to play more. No, it doesn't work that way. The way you can tell they're a land is it just says land right here. Same way you can tell this is a creature, it says creature right here. And there are 5 main basic lands. There's plains, there are, let me open this for you real quick. Mountains, forests, islands, and swamps. Now, these represent the different colors in this game. Different colors being black, green, yellow, red, and blue. And they're really how you play the different decks. This one, swamps obviously give you black mana, forest green mana, plains white mana, mountains red mana, and islands blue mana. I'll go into more what the different colors do and the differences between them in a later video. So that just let you know that there are different types of lands. So there you go, that's lands for you. Enchantments. Enchantments are non-creatures that stay on the field. And actually there's one more type that I'm neglecting to show off. I don't know if I have it in this deck. But let me find it real quick. Now the thing about enchantments, there we go, is that they stay on the field and their effect is continuous. You can kind of tell what that does because it'll say what it does, but their effect just continues to go on depending on what it is. So that's really what you need to know about enchantments. They can be activated effects, they can attach to creatures, there's all sorts of different things. The other permanent card is Artifact. Artifacts are the main thing that differentiates them between like an enchantment is that they are colorless. You can play these without having to pay any particular kind of mana. So the difference between these and this one is that this one has 2 colorless mana and 1 white mana. That means you can pay 2 mana of any color. So you can pay it with blue mana, red mana, whatever, and then one has to be at least white. For this one right here, you only need to pay 3 colorless mana, so it can be of any color. And then these also tap and they can destroy it and also stuff like that. They're kind of like different relics in the game, different items. That's really what they represent. And the next ones aren't permanent. Once you play them, they kind of go away right away. They're very similar, but here they are right here. There's sorcery and instants. Now, the difference between sorcery and instants is that instants you can really play any time in the game. You can play on your opponent's turn, you can play on your turn, really whenever you want, unless they say something specifically otherwise. But once you play them, their effect goes off, and then they go away. Like this one says, target player draws 2 cards. So you play it, you draw 2 cards, you have your opponent draw 2 cards, and then it just goes away and goes into a graveyard. Sorceries are the same way. You play them, and then they go away after their effect goes off. But you only play them on your turn and not during combat. That's the best way to explain it. You can't play it like right when you draw it. You have to kind of during your pre-combat and post-combat main phases, which doesn't really make sense for. I'm not getting phases in this episode. I will later on. But just know, main thing about them, you can't play them during combat or on your opponent's turn. Now I'm going to cut and show you all a little bit example of how combat works.